Hey everybody, Nick here, and today, well, I got an Ask the Nick live whole stream thing for you. The basic format for today's sort of affair is, well, yeah, Ask the Nick things. I of course being the Nick, and you of course being the you. I assume you've come here with questions, and I have come here, well, probably not with answers, but I'm doing my best, okay? So, I want to actually start off with a brief announcement with a brief bit of, I don't know, information. I have hit 90, I think I'm at like 91,000 subscribers right now. This is a number that is, and I say this every damn time I hit a milestone, but I don't freaking believe it. I didn't figure I was going to get 3 subscribers. Approaching 100,000 is completely insane. However, I'm very excited about it. It'll be a big milestone. Not that it'll really change anything. I'm not a freaking special person. Like what is it? 140,000 channels with 100,000 folks and more. But anyways, it means something to me. Okay. And so when that happens, I'm planning a celebration. That celebration will be as follows roughly. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a charitable giveaway, raffle sort of thing, the likes of which you all have never seen before. I have got some solid freaking gems lined up. It is going to be an absolutely beautiful thing. So keep an eye out for that when that goes on ahead and happens. The other thing I'm going to do is a Shabazz par excellence. You'll get a brand new video every day for, probably for a week. I think that sounds about right. So whenever that does happen, and right now we're on course for a couple of months ahead, but hey, like, subscribe, hit the freaking bell. I don't know what you say as a YouTuber these days. But basically, that's what we got going on. So if you are if you're curious what I'm going to be doing, that's what it's going to look like. I'm going to do a big old freaking charity giveaway sort of thing, charitable raffle, and then also there will be a Shabazz. It should be just a whole bunch of fun. So that's a beautiful thing. Okay, we got some entertaining questions here already. So one thing I do want to say before we get too deep into it here is that there were a lot of questions. They come fast and freaking furious. Today, there were a couple of things I want to do. I mean, to start with, I'm going to answer your questions, of course. And if I don't get to your question or if I don't see your question, feel free to repost it periodically. Not like every 10 seconds, but, if it scrolls off the screen, you're welcome to go on ahead and do that. The other thing that will get my attention faster, although this isn't a bribe, you don't have to do it, and I'll answer non-super chat questions, but is to do one of the super chatty things. That's a beautiful thing. And it supports channel, but I really do my best to make sure that those ones get answered. If it's a question that I really can't answer, if you're asking me like terrible questions I wouldn't answer anyways, well, then we got ourselves a problem. So, anyways, that is that's the whole situation. But please don't feel offended if I miss your question, because I got a whole bunch of them coming by. Then finally, one quick note. Today, I am hoping to answer questions not just about gear. Although I've got gear on the table, I absolutely 100% am happy to answer questions about life in general. I don't give you good answers necessarily. You're probably going to want to talk to somebody who actually knows something about something, but I'm more than happy to jump on those as well. So feel free to throw those out there. Jan Doroshenko asks, does it work? Oh, yes, it does, Jan. Thank you very, very much. So, let's see here. Thoughts on the workshop? Chip Lee asks that question. The question there is about the Can Onion workshop. Well, not Can Onion necessarily, but the workshop system. Look, I actually find that the workshop system is one that I actually get a lot of heat on that review because I didn't use the system in the way that it is conventionally used with the belt grinding attachment. I used it in a way that gives you a slightly more convex edge. I tried it in a couple of other ways, and they worked okay. But the one I used is the one I liked most. But I get a whole bunch of I don't know. I get a whole bunch of heat on that one. I think it's a fine sharpening system, and especially if you like convex edges, but more specifically, you like quick edges, because that's what it does best. Is quick and easy. Then 100%, it's something to consider. However, I think for most people, you might be a little bit better served using either a guided sort of system or just investing in a buttload of freaking stones. That's actually something that I've been doing lately that's been bringing me a lot of joy, which is, well, a lot of freehand sharpening. Trying with the dia sharp stones. Those are really freaking heavy, by the way. I'm not just a wimp. But, yeah, anyways, thank you very much, Jan Doroshenko, and holy crap, thank you very much in spades. I appreciate that. It's a beautiful thing. But yeah, so that's kind of my feelings on the workshop. It's a great system, but there you go. Let's see here. I need some advice. I'd like to buy my future brother-in-law, who is not a knife guy, a reasonably priced gentleman's carry for a wedding present. Any suggestions? Yeah, William. Actually, reasonably priced. As you're asking these questions, please let me know what you find to be reasonable, because to me, reasonable might be a different thing than for you. Thank you, Jan. There are so many different definitions of reasonable that, if you're in Chris Reeve Mundy territory, I'd love to, send you that way. Sorry, just getting some light on the subject here. But those are 80s. 88 cents, nice. But yeah, you're gonna have to let me know a little bit more. 40 to 80 bucks. Okay, now we're in freaking business here. You got a bunch of different options. 40 to 80 bucks, gentlemen's options. Civivi McKenna and Damasteel is not a really bad choice. It's a great knife if you can get one. Well, it's not Damasteel, it's a Damascus style steel. But that's a really nice choice. What else is really good? I mean, of course, you get your humble open L, but that's like 10 bucks or something like that, so you're being a little bit of a cheap bastard there. CRKT actually has some pretty decent choices. This one's a limited edition, I think, frustratingly. But this is the CRKT CEO. It's not a bad gentleman's knife option, particularly if you're looking for something a little less expensive. So there's that. The Civivi Elementum Ferrum Forge Gent is a really nice choice, and there you go. So those are a couple of ones that I would probably recommend. And Civivi Elementum, by the way, is this little guy right here. Just picked up one of these guys, actually, thanks to my buddy Chris, who does more than just troll me. But anyways, that's a beautiful thing. So let's see here. What else am I missing here? Connor Smith says, "Damn, I wish Nick Shabazz had a public Discord." Connor, I understand that, and I appreciate that. The thing is, I already have a bunch of social media outlets to work with. I've already got the Instagram. I haven't been using Twitter as much. I got a Twitter account. It's just at Nick Shabazz. When Instagram was really feeling like it was going to be, wrecking the knife community in a nasty way. And so I went ahead and I set that up, and I haven't really been interacting there that much. But for me, I've got a patrons-only Discord. Any of my Patreon patrons are able to join in there, and that's a wonderful thing, because it's actually kind of a nice community. But I'm just trying to constrain it. If I open up a public Discord and I've suddenly got 90,000 people in a freaking Discord server or whatever, that's going to be tough. So I'm kind of trying to constrain it, and that way the time that I'm able to spend there is interacting directly with the folks who are, in many ways, my most dedicated fans, or at least my most dedicated fans who have the resources to support me. Is it fair? Probably not, but unfortunately, my time, I don't want to say my time's valuable, but I'm low on it, we'll put it that way. So that's the reason that my Discord isn't, public for the rest of the world. It's a Patreon patron thing. So there you go. Let's see here. Jan Doroshenko asks, lulls aside, 2 questions. Do you know anything about Scala? Scala meaning I want to say there's a programming language. Yeah, I think that's a statistical programming language. And so no, not really. And any chance you'll re-review the Spyderco military? I assume you mean the Spyderco military rather than the military as a generalized concept, because that'd be an interesting review. But I'm afraid I'm not not in the services, so I can't really do it. I might re-review the military at some point in time, but probably not. At some level, I'm expecting it is probably, and this is not based on any insider information. This is actually one preconception that a lot of folks have, is that I get all kinds of insider information about the industry. It's true that sometimes makers will share, for instance, prototypes with me, and have me do stealth reviews. That's inside information, but it's not information I will ever give out publicly, because that's the point of a freaking stealth review, is for me to talk to these makers and say, I see this is a bit of a problem. You might consider that before things go public. So that information never freaking comes out. But there were companies who will occasionally tip their hand. The makers who will send me, hey, Nick, check this out. This is coming. And that's always cool. Again, I'm not saying that publicly, but like, for instance, I know nothing about what's coming out next from Spyderco. I legitimately have no better idea than any of you do. I mean, I've been to the Blade G gathering, USN gathering, and there they had the prototype case, but any random jackass from the public could walk up and see that. So I don't really have any sort of head knowledge of Spyderco Spyderco or any other damn company, at that matter, that they haven't given me directly, and even if I did, I wouldn't share it. So regardless, though, I do sort of suspect that there might be a military, too, coming down the path here, because they've done that a bunch of times, and they seem to be revisiting a lot of their old school gems. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. But really good question. Thank you very much. Tommy D, thank you for the... Thanks for the donation. My only nitpick regarding the House of Grimsmo. Yeah, we'll go ahead and throw the Grimsmo Knives Norseman down on the table, along with the other Grimsmo Knives Norseman. Where are you at, buddy? Come here. I live a strange life where I'm having to find my Norsemen, plural. Aside from, Nordic search and rescue, folks, that's not generally an issue. But the only nitpick with the Norseman is how easily my oily hands destroy the anno, not the Spanish. Yeah. Just wondering if you knew one of the Rask is different in this regard. No, not really. This is unfortunately an issue with any kind of anodization generally. For instance, you can see this little guy actually just came to me from EDC Gear House and Way of Knife. They're based out of Traverse City. I just happen to have this sticker here. This isn't a plug or anything, but this has a very nice, this is an Ontario Rat number 2 that they've customized to have blue scales and whatnot. But what you can see is actually that the anodization differs a fair amount underneath the clip because the oils from my hands haven't gotten there yet. This sort of seems to be a fact of life with titanium anodization. I've seen like coatings and such that people can put on there, but coatings tend to come off and look ugly. So this is something that you can get very quickly back to the snuff using like Windex or something like that. But it is definitely a concern. But it's not a unique concern to the Grimsmos, I don't think, particularly. So there you go. Let's see here. In Spades, thank you again, In Spades, asks, new to both gear and your channel. I really like the look of the Grimsmo Norseman. Hey, I don't even have to change what's on the table. But is it worth the price? That's a really good question. That's kind of the big question that I'm asking myself these days. So right now I've got this guy, which is number 821, an older version, and then I've got this brand new one, which is 3084. And the question is, when the Grimsmo Norseman first came out, it was like $675 knife. That price, oh yeah, absolutely 100%. Question comes, though, as they've increased the prices over time, does this knife still remain a great value? That's a really big one. At some level, it's very unique. At some level, it's made by a small company. At some level, there's a lot of joy to it there. But at another level, the price does feel a bit high on this guy. Particularly given, for instance, our WL34 steel. It's a great steel. It's fine for everyday life. And in fact, I would go so far as to say it's pretty underrated as a steel. And I'm not just saying the same thing with CPM 154 and, what's the other one? ATS 34, is that the... Either way, it's a pretty solid knife, but I really do wish that the price could come down a little bit. I think that they're really up towards the top there, and they need to be doing every damn thing possible to earn that price point, and I think a steel upgrade would be a help there. Alrighty. Sorry about that, people. Frank Andre Holmstrand. Hey, Frank. It said, I sent you 3 gems. Hopefully I'll receive them on Monday the 30th. Hey, that'd be great. The post office has been, shall we say, creative lately. So we will see. But nevertheless, I'll put this guy up here staring at you from the corner. Nevertheless, we will see, and hopefully they should be, that should be a joy. I am actually currently out of Terrible Knives, which is an unusual state of affairs for me. Usually, mind you, I've got them around. I've got plenty. But, we will see. We will see. Let's see here. What do we got here? Any other places that ship to the UK that can buy the blade, the Nick Shabazz Swiss Army knife? Blade HQ don't ship to the UK. That's a shame. I actually don't. Right now, it's an exclusive from them. Here, I'll put one on the screen here. I mean, it quite literally says Blade HQ on the back of it, so you're probably not going to be able to buy one of these guys at Knife Center. I'll see if there's a way to go on ahead and do that, to make that switcheroo. But I don't know that that's a... I don't know that there's a way around that. I'm sorry, that's sort of their that's sort of their situation. But I tell you what, I can talk to the Blade HQ guys. Shoot me an email and I'll ask about that. Let's see here. Michael Bednarik asks, hey, thanks for the donation, Michael. I just serviced my Kimura. How long for thread locker to dry? That's a really good question, and it's actually one that's usually answered on the tuba thread locker itself. So right here we have someplace around here. Usually it says something about this. Well, either way, at the very least, it'll cause me birth defects, but then again, what won't? But anyways, usually it'll say something at least on the packaging about it. What my usual rule of thumb is especially if it's something where if I'm just like fully cranking the screw down and there's not really a concern, usually it's fine to go in like 15, 20 minutes. But for me at least, and using the Loctite I do, if there is a concern about something, I will usually let the knife sit for like 24 hours or something like that. Again, it's not the end of the world, but and it really depends on the brand that you're using, but that's a good thing. Let's see here. What do we have here? Scrolling. When are you starting the Bring Back the Spyderco Salish Bowie campaign? That's a really good question. I am desperately hoping. Look, I don't care for limited editions. I think they're pretty annoying, and I think that we can do better as a community than to really support that. But I wouldn't mind seeing somebody bring one of these back as a sprint run. I don't know if it could happen. I bet it would be really expensive. I don't know if it's a possibility, but if anybody is going to sprint, then by God, this is a good place to do it. Because already there aren't enough of them. And so if you're bringing something back, even if it is for just a limited time, I think they could really do a lot of good there. And so I'm hoping that somebody might take this, might talk to Spyderco and say, hey guys, you've got the plans, make another batch of them. And I hope that that would be a possibility, because this would be a good argument for a sprint run where there aren't that many good arguments for sprint runs. So there we go. Let's see here. Iuna is asking, is the Norseman the knife that has been my favorite for the longest time? That's really a good question. My favorite, I don't even know what my favorite knife is anymore. I don't even know what a favorite is. I'm just a confused man at this point, But the simple fact is that I've been advocating for the Norseman for a long time. One could make an argument that the Graham Razel has been in my collection a lot longer, but it is absolutely... It's a knife that I've loved long before I even had the ability to afford it. And so I might argue that this has been around my channel for a long time, but honestly, I think I like the Norseman a little bit more. I like weird blade shapes, in case you can't tell. I got the sharp and spoon thing going on up here, then the sharp and chisel thing. Well, all chisels are sharp and, well, okay, except the ones my dad used. Anyways, I digress. Anyways, this is a... you could make an argument either way, but I am very well known for liking the Norseman. Also, the Salish Bowie, the one I was just showing you off, is another really good example of a knife I absolutely love. Thank you for all the super chats here. Thoughts on the Cricket Dactyl? I actually don't know what knife that is, and I'm really sorry about that, Alan. The problem with CRKT is that they drop a bunch of knives on any given moment. And so, there were some that definitely catch my attention, like the CEO caught my attention. A bunch of other ones have caught my attention over time, but for me, at least, it's so easy for me to miss one of them because they just slip on by. And especially when the names aren't clear. So if you'd like, how could I look at this? Yeah, but anyways, so I'm sorry I can't give you a good opinion there, but I sure wish that they would slow down a little bit and focus on quality over quantity. But there are some signs that that's happening. Let's see here. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Sakari. Sid, thank you so much for the generous donation. I appreciate that very, very much. Let's see here. How do I feel that I'm about to hit 30 million views? Look, I accept large parts of my life only with the firm belief that I'm going to wake up any freaking minute. Like I said, I don't believe that I should have 10 subscribers, let alone 100,000. So I am very happy. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for every one of you. And although I question your taste in YouTube a little bit, at the same time, it's a wonderful thing. But 30 million views is kind of ridiculous, right? I'll take it, though. Pardon me, just drinking some tea over here. Alrighty, what do we got here? Ever think about reviewing the Zinn watches U1? Zinn is a company I've kind of wanted to go back to recently. They've got some really nice stuff out there. A lot of it tends to be big, and their bracelets tend to not be very good. But they do make some really attractive stuff, and I think that, I don't know, I had a relatively bad experience with a poorly regulated Zinn 804? 104? Yeah, I think it was a 104. Anyways, and that kind of put me off a little bit, but I think now that I've had some more mechanicals, it might be something that's worth looking into again. So yeah, Plainscrafter, thank you very much for the kind words. Just says thanks for a year's worth of content that's been entertaining and thought provoking. I'm glad to provoke your thoughts, my friend, and hopefully they're decent thoughts here. Let's see here. What do we got? Thoughts? You're a bit of a philosophical person. Holy crap. Okay. Zach Fude asks a really interesting question here. Howdy, Nick. I know you're a bit of a philosophical person, so I figured I'd pick your brain. What gives sentient beings more rights than non sentient ones, such as a highly advanced AI? So, Zach, that's a really good question. The big question here is how we define sentience, right? I mean, a general AI, an artificial intelligence that was able to completely and totally, simulate human thought in some way or another, potentially even be better at it than us. At some level, that meets pretty much every definition of sentience we could throw at it. And so you could make the argument that it would deserve the same amounts of right. But this gets into a really interesting ethical question about who constitutes a moral being in a relevant way, right? I mean, and what becomes a sin against an AI? Is deletion the problem? Is shutting them down? This is going to be something, if general AI is ever developed, which hopefully it's not applied to supermarket self-checkouts, or else it's going to be even more insistent about putting things in the bagging area. But I think that's going to be a question that we're going to struggle with a great deal as a species. I think we also might struggle with this a great deal more as a species as we start to study more about animals and start to learn more about their cognitive processes. That could be something that reveals some really awkward truths, like, holy crap, dolphins are smarter than we thought, or something. And then we start asking bigger questions about dolphins and dolphin rights. I don't know. It's going to be a really slippery slope, though, as we start to realize that maybe we humans aren't so freaking special as we think we are. And that'll be an interesting sort of, time for our human existence, that is. Let's see here. Tommy D asks, have you considered doing more vids with my wife? The fiance reviews the collection is one of my top 10 best. I have. Absolutely. I've been meaning to get Chick Shabazz back in here more often. At the moment, she's watching a vaguely terrible soap opera in the other room. But that's okay. She's more than welcome to it. What was I saying? Yeah, I definitely want to bring her back in and get her kind of more involved because I think she has an interesting, she's got a cool voice for it. And it's a nice outsider view because this is a person, she's in a very weird situation. Not only is she married to me, which is a weird freaking situation. I just want to be very clear about this again, like, honey, why is there a knife in the shower? Rust testing. Okay, that's a weird situation that a human can be in. Quiet Carrie Drift, by the way. But more importantly, she has handled, I make a point of any time there's something unique or weird that comes across my desk of handing it to her and saying, what do you think? Because she's handled some of like the highest end of high-end pocket knives, and she's handled a lot of high-end watches too, but she doesn't give a crap particularly. I mean, she sees quality, she likes a lot of it, but same time, yeah. So it's this weird thing where it's like she's got all this latent knowledge about the knife world and she's seen the full perspective, she's seen the full constellation, so to speak, but she's not in the world. And so the question, well, in the knife world, she's in the world. At least I sure hope she is. She disappeared in the last 20 minutes. That'd be really weird. Like some weird AI kidnapping her. I think that's the plot of Hyperion or something. Anyways, I digress. Good books, by the way. Oh, come on, what's his name? The Hyperion Cantos. Talks a lot about AIs and ethics and that one. Ben Zimmer. Who the heck is that guy? I'll come up with it sooner or later. If you know, go ahead and drop it in the comments there. But anyways, I digress. She has a good perspective, I think, and it's a useful one to bring back in there. And she's also a nerd for her own types of gear. She is actually very involved in doing her own nails. It's not her business or anything like that. She just does, crazy involved nails. And so, yeah, that's been a thing. And so she's got her own geekery, just not in my particular world. So there we go. Let's see here. I'm so sorry, Frank. I'm sure I'm screwing up everything about them. No, that wasn't. Dan Simmons, thank you very much. Dan Simmons is the author I was looking for. It's really nice to have 251 people available to Google things for me. Yeah, this is Dan Simmons, and I'm going to go ahead and treat this as a question, a viewer question. What's that there, Tim Burton? Hey, I wonder if it's the director. Why would you recommend the Hyperion Cantos? That's a really good question. This is actually, it's a series of sci-fi books, and it's Hyperion Hyperion, Fall of Hyperion, Endymion, Rise of Endymion, I believe, is the four-part series. And it's just a really good series of books. It's really twisted. It's really screwed up in a couple of places. It's not necessarily young adult reading, so to speak, but it's really excellent because it does a lot of really cool thinking about really cool issues. And frankly, it's just a great bit of storytelling with some really cool, it's got the Shrike. He's a guy with blades for arms, right? I mean, for a knife guy, that's kind of a thing. But all kinds of other cool ideas. So I'm a really big fan of it. And if you're reading anything, frankly, in the last 5 or 6 years, that's probably the thing that I've read that's kind of stuck with me hardest. That or Ilium and Olympos were another series by them. It wasn't wrapped up quite as well, but it was still very good. Big fan of the Hyperion Cantos. Big fan. So there we go. Hyperion sounds like an Elijah Isham model. I like it. 100%. Yeah, Hyperion would make a great movie. 100%. Alrighty. So what are we doing here? Let's see here. Nick, do I appreciate any canvas chore coats? LC King brand, made in the USA, thinking of buying one. I don't really, I haven't gotten into the chore coat world, mostly because I'm not in a world where coats are a big issue anymore. That's not a flex or anything like that, but it's, I want to say like 65 degrees out right now. I'm pretty okay. So, and I'm not doing that many in the way of physical chores. I mean, as many people are very happy to point out, that I don't have a particularly strong physical job. I'm a scientist, so I'm not out there, shifting hay around and whatnot. So that's not really an area that I've got strong ethos to review in, but nevertheless, I might take a look at him at some point in time, but there we go. Ryan asks, thank you, Ryan, very much. Chaparral or Para 3 lightweight for EDC? Good question. Para 3 lightweight, and come here, Chaparral. Around here somewhere. And Chaparral lightweight. So these two are very nice choices for everyday carry. I would probably make the argument that for most people, the Chaparral is going to be a slightly better choice, just because it's a little bit smaller, it's a little more carryable, and it's just a slicier knife. However, one could very easily also feel that the Para 3, Para 3 lightweight is an absolute solid gem, and in a lot of ways, it replaces, in my mind, the Spyderco Delica, which is one of my very favorite all-time sort of knife choices, as sort of a relatively budget-friendly but very nice high-end FRNE sort of carry. I like the Para 3 lightweight a lot more than I ever expected to. This is a substantially good knife, and it's one that I will never not recommend. So I think all three of these represent good options. The Delica's value is just not really there anymore, unfortunately, but you can't really go wrong with these two. The big question that you got is, do you want to favor slicing and lose a little bit of size, or do you want to favor size and it still slices pretty damn well, but get that too. Ergonomically speaking, I will say I think the Para 3 lightweight's maybe a little bit better, but that doesn't, that's not a big difference there. Let's see here. Nick, if you had a chance to review the Hogue Deca. The Hogue Deca is a knife that I have not reviewed yet. I can bring out another Hogue Axis lock, although this one is not the Deca. This is the Doug Ritter RSK, oh, good God, RSK01 Mark II, I think? Something like that. No, RSK Mark 1 G2 something. Doug, you're killing me. Seriously. Just give it a freaking name. It's the Hogue Ritter, okay? Anyways, this is a Hogue Axis lock, and it is quite good. And in fact, I've handled a Hogue Deca. I just haven't had a chance to get one on the table yet. But Hogue is really nailing this kind of sliding bar lock action lately. Absolutely excellent. Big fan of that. Let's see here. Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate the $3. I will definitely buy myself something nice. Not sure what that's going to be for $3, but I'll figure it out. What could I buy for $3? If I had $3 right now to buy something nice, what would it be? I don't know, maybe tea or something? I like tea. Yeah, could work. Or like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Candy bar or some variety. By the way, if anybody's asking about candy bar, Payday. Payday is the correct answer for candy bars. Because you got the peanuts, you got your caramel. It's just all around. It's a pretty excellent thing. Let's see here. Dan's Gear Addiction says, speaking of Doug Ritter, would you ever consider a charitable raffle for knife rights? That's a really good question. So again, I'll pull the Ritter back up here. This is a knife that has been designed by Doug Ritter, who is a knife maker and knife designer, who is also a very, very strong force in favor of, making knife laws more sane here in the U.S. Knife Rights is a great organization, and although I don't necessarily agree with every stance that they take all the time, at the same time, they have done a lot for for basically improving knife laws all around the world. And so I have mostly within the U.S. here, although I think they've been working a little bit on the Canada, the import stuff. But nevertheless, Doug Ritter is a great guy, just generally speaking. He actually shot me a really, just like a you ever get one of those emails where it's just like, wow, you're a good human? After he watched my Gear of the Year video and basically said, I'm not going to put words in this, but it was a very, very, I'm really happy you included me, and there was good competition there, and I totally get why you made the choice. It was really kind of it. But anyways, Doug Ritt is a great guy, and I think Knife Rights is doing great work for the knife community. I might end up doing a charitable thing for Knife Rights in the future here. I'm not necessarily sure exactly how. The other big thing for me is, like I said, my cause, generally speaking, is domestic violence. I want to try and support shelters that are trying to support people going through some terrible times like that. So it's a little bit, I'm always a little torn to sway away from that, because the thing is, and absolutely, Knife Rights needs your money, 100%. And if you support their mission, which I think if you are a knife enthusiast, you probably will, they are very much worth considering. However, the amount of, if $100 donation can just be really life-changing for one of these small shelters that's struggling to get by. And so that's something that I'm always a little torn to move away from that. So, do keep that in mind. But they do really good work, and I really, really encourage you to go there. Let's see here. We've got a bunch of people trying to do random things. Do I like kombucha? So, kombucha. Yeah, no. Here's my kombucha story. At one point in time, so I was on a beer league softball team, actually during the grad school. Beautiful thing. I am not, by the way, good at any sport particularly. I'm really good at the part of bowling where you're not rolling the ball. That part I excel at, but everything else I'm pretty awful at. But anyways, I digress. I was, I finished, I think I forget, something was going on, and I got to the freaking ballpark a little bit early, and next to the ballpark, there happened to be a Whole Foods. And of course, Whole Foods is not a place I can generally afford to shop because, well, I am not Jeff Bezos. So as a result, I went into Whole Foods, not knowing anything really about Whole Foods, and I figured, okay, I'm going to just get me some iced tea. And I figured, that'll be great. That'll be exactly what I need for, to restore myself in preparation for this game. And so I walk in there, and I'm looking through the thing, and I see kombucha. Oh, okay, that must be a new, because it was with all the other iced tea brands. Like, I've never heard of kombucha iced tea, but maybe that's like chai, and chai is like tea in every freaking language. That it isn't like a tea-based thing. Anyways, I digress. And so I buy some freaking kombucha thinking it's just tea. And then here I am, okay, everybody's hanging out. And I take a sip of this, and this is the most god-awful substance I am ever familiar with. I cannot, to this day, I'm gagging thinking about what this stuff was. And then at the bottom, there's like some freaking gelatinous mass that looks like it was an extra from the Aliens film. Like some freaking alien's gonna jump out of there like, and so to this day, and it was like a hot day too. So this was not like cool kombucha, which maybe is better. I cannot do that beverage. I don't understand hippies in a variety of ways, but that one maybe more so than most. Like, I'm good at Ultimate Frisbee-ish, except for the running part, but I'm not enough of a hippie for kombucha. So that is my kombucha story. I never again, nope. Anything that involves a ball of ectoplasm at the bottom is out for me. So there you go. Let's see here. Ben Moran asks, has the Tola Union multi-tool been on my radar? No, it hasn't been. In fact, I never even heard of it. But feel free to send me an email or a message on the Instagram pointing me that way, because I'm always interested in new multi-tools. We have a... For me, my multi-tools of choice have always been either of these two. This is the Leatherman Wave, and this is the Leatherman Charge TTI. Generally, I recommend the Wave. It's a little bit easier, but that's a really nice choice for everyday carry for a multi-tool. But I'd love to see that space get shaken up a little bit. I'd like to see something really take a run at the Wave for me. So there are lots of good multi-tools out there, but yeah. That's a good question. Hey, Blade Man, it seems like you're having some trouble there. One thing I want you to do keep in mind is that I got a bunch of questions scrolling by, so if I miss your question, please feel free to re-ask it. No need to get bitter and angry about it there. Let's see here. What do we got here? I'm drinking kombucha right now, says Cody Moore. Cody, I am so sorry. I am so very, very deeply sorry, and I hope you get through this moment and come out the other side a stronger human. These things are never easy, but you can make it through this, Cody. You can make it through this. Let's see here. Should more production knives switch to ceramic bearings? It seems like an easy way to improve the action. Joseph, that's a really great question. Honestly, I can't say I've noticed that much difference between a ceramic bearing knife and a steel bearing knife of equivalent quality. Like, I don't believe necessarily that if you swapped out the bearings for ceramic in a given knife that I have, that it would make a major difference. It could be, but every time that I've done that swap, and I've only done it a couple of times, I've never actually noticed a change. I think it's probably what we're noticing right now is sort of a selection bias. The makers who are using a lot of ceramic bearings are often the ones who are kind of trying to push the borders there, trying to push the edges, and so we end up seeing better action. But when I take a knife apart and I see steel bearings rather than ceramic, it doesn't bother me in any way. It's just kind of a situation. But, yeah, so that's a situation there. Let's see here. Gingerade. I have absolutely no idea what that is, but I do like ginger beer, and that's a beautiful thing. So, hey, sounds like a good plan. Let's see here. We got a hello from Finland there. That's a beautiful thing. Sakari points out an important point, that is, ceramic bearings are more rust resistant. This is true. Ceramic bearings do not have the ability to rust, and so that is a bonus if you're in a rusty environment. If you are a swamp witch, then ceramic bearings may be a better choice. But for the most part, at least for me, I don't see there to be a major distinction there. They're also relatively cheap, so there you go. Let's see here. Nick, have you had a chance to revisit the Benchmade Bugout? Any thoughts? I did briefly. The thing is, I just kind of kept feeling the same way I did. I did the bailout. That review's got to go live here soon. But I'm really hoping very much that, I don't know. It just never quite grabbed me, and especially given that there are knives out there like the Para 3 Lightweight, which, call me a fanboy and whatnot, I think I prefer that overall. It's a great knife, there's no doubt about that, but it's also just not, it doesn't grab me as much. It's not something I'm as big a fan of. Let's see here, wrist check. Right here we have the Long Island watches, oh, come on. ISL 01, I believe, complete with a 12-hour GMT-style bezel on here, which is a beautiful thing. This is actually a surprisingly nice watch for the price. We're looking at $300 here, and it's good. It is substantially good. The one area where it is not as good is in accuracy. This is running around 10 seconds a day, fast, I believe, at any given moment. That's not amazing, but at the same time, for the price, they're doing quite good work here. So there you go. Let's see here. Potato R asks, I'm a union stagehand. I prefer utility knives for daily carry and actual work. Would you ever consider doing a review of any? I prefer the Milwaukee Fastback. That's a really good question. I actually have a video about utility knives as a secondary tool. Unfortunately, aside from really expensive ones like the Rexford Rut and that kind of thing, or the Sneck Tan did one that's the Mono, I want to say. Either way. People will let me know for sure. But aside from those, I have a video on using a backup beater utility blade knife because I think that can be a great thing. The bigger issue with those kinds of utility blades is that past the point you might need to cut something a little deeper. For me, I tend to often cut thicker foam, and so it's not as useful for me to have a relatively small little blade on there, even if it is easily interchangeable, when I could have something just a little bit longer to go through in there. So, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Let's see here. Anton Chizelyov asks, from Moldova, I know my experience with Emerson Knives wasn't really positive. Current versions are a bit different in a positive way. I'd love to, he says, would you like to take another look? I'm always interested in kind of keeping up on makers, so to speak. And, Emerson for a long time has had the argument. They even had a page on their website. And I did a full article kind of refuting this with Knife News at one point in time, saying that fit and finish doesn't matter. And also, let's be real here. I am not the Emerson target market. And actually, Tanner Birch just asked basically the same question. Thank you for that. But I am not their target market either. Emerson is a high-speed, low-drag company. They reduce the drag and increase the speed at every opportunity they can. That's a beautiful thing at some level, but it's also not exactly my style. And so I'm kind of interested in it, and then definitely next time I go to a show, I'll make sure I stop by their booth to just make sure that everything's okay. And, if it is all suddenly way better, then maybe I'll consider it again. But for the moment, a company that is very actively taking the stance that fit and finish doesn't matter is sort of antithetical to a lot of what I try and do in the gear world, so to speak, and so I haven't spent a lot of time there. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But again, a lot of people love them, and I can see that they've got charm. And specifically, if you're interested in the martial element of it, I can see that being a joy for you. So that's a really good question to both of you. Let's see here. Am I going to review the Bulova curved chronograph? Thanks, Christy. I do not have plans immediately to do that. What Bulova has managed to do is create a watch where, a lot of watches have sort of a curvature to their lugs. Like, for instance, this little guy right here has a curvature to the lugs, but fundamentally the movement itself is a flat disc. Bulova has managed to, using some fanciness, make a curved watch movement. You know what? That's cool. I support that at some level, but at the end of the day, it's a quartz chronograph, right? And so the big question is whether the style appeals to you. Bulova does good work, 100%. No argument there. If you look at a Bulova, you're probably not going to have a bad time of it. But whether or not it's curved or flat is really going to be kind of an ergonomic question and a style question more than anything. So if you're kind of on the edge about it, go for it. Jump on in. No problem. So let's see here. Let's see. Tommy D says, any true fan of your channel knows, any fan's a true fan, but I appreciate it, knows that you will take a very strong position against makers that act like Eggplant Rooster. I think you can interpret what that means. I would very much appreciate any thoughts on Brown Knives and Curtis Customs. Not sure if I've discussed. Let's see here. I don't actually have strong knowledge of either of those folks be doing anything out of line, being any dickish or roosterish in any particular way. So I don't want to necessarily comment on that. Brown Knives, what was his latest thing? It's not the Equilibrium. That was, he's got the latest. The latest Brown knife is actually pretty decent. I handled one at the G10, I handled one at Blade West, I think. They're quite nice. I mean, he does good work. There's not a strong argument there. And so there's that. Curtis Knives, assuming we're talking about the same person, he tends to do these very big, overbuilt frame locks with these gigantic flip-it tabs. And, every time I've handled one, I've come away thinking, what, I bet this is something that's interesting to some people. But it's one of those kinds of knives that I'm not super interested in going into because it didn't, blow me away particularly, and it's kind of custom. So I don't particularly, and that's the other thing with the Brown, is just it's a really solid knife. Okay. But it's not really... They've not reached the threshold of, oh my God, I need to get you on the channel because your work is absolutely astounding to me. But again, I mean, they've both done some nice work out there. Andrew Toole asked, thoughts on the ZT640 Emerson? I haven't really done that. I haven't been looking that much at the ZT and Kershaw world lately, so it's not something I'm particularly going to go to there, but thank you again for the donation. Let's see here. Alok Murphy asks, hey Nick, I recall you noting in the past that you enjoy Linux from time to time. As a Unix fan, boy, I gotta ask, what is my distribution of choice? So, about to get nerdy up in here. Oh boy, I'm putting on my nerd glasses. Well, actually, they're already on, because any glasses on me are nerd glasses. But anyways, I digress. My very favorite Linux distribution, the one I use most often, that is going to be probably... Well, I mean, Red Hat on servers, things like that, but those aren't servers I'm administrating. But if I had to choose one right now, probably end up being Ubuntu, maybe Mint. In practice, though, the one that has my heart is Gentoo, way back in college. And we all did some crazy things in college, although, of course, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to have a great learning experience during your college career. But one of the crazy things I did in college was install Gentoo and used it for about a year and change, actually. maybe a little less than that. It's a great operating system, provided you really like fixing your operating system. I might consider going to Arch just because, well, it's Arch, and I'd have to brag about using Arch. But those are all pretty reasonable choices. But for me, probably if somebody's brand new to Linux, I would send them over to the Ubuntu world. Thank you very much, Zach. By the way, buy yourself a nice glass of kombucha with this donation. Zach, you're killing me over here. I tell you what, I will drink an iced tea in front of a kombucha bottle. We'll put it there, and I appreciate very much the words and the donation there. So there we go. Archie is pretty fantastic. I've heard that. Now we have a nice little argument going on here about Linux distros. Alrighty. Actually, it's very possible, by the way, that my next computer is going to be a Linux laptop. Like I'm looking at ThinkPad X1 or potentially the Dell Developer Edition XPS 13. Those seem like a really good choice. And as Apple is just the software quality is plummeting. Catalina is a freaking wreck. It's just making me feel more and more like open source. Damn it, let's just be done with this. So there you go. Let's see here. Any thoughts on the ZT230? I actually talked about that not so long. Oh, that was the 640. Guys, I can't keep these damn things straight. Maybe the 230 is the slip joint guy. I wasn't super impressed with it at Blade West. It's fine. But it also has the weird characteristic of being a slip joint where the blade is very high up there. Thank you. It is the so yeah. By the way, Dan's Gear Addiction says do not get into Catalina, and this is true. The latest version of Mac OS X is a freaking trash heap. Do not even think about getting into Catalina. Mojave was better by a margin. I had to upgrade for some reasons, but oh my god, do I regret it every freaking day. So terrible, 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 terrible. So yeah, the Anso slip joint from ZT coming back to the ranch. Absolutely fine choice. Well, actually, I don't know. Anything that is a slip joint with a relatively weak spring and the blade sharpened above the fingers doesn't strike me as a good idea. I would not recommend that. Just on the, a lot of good slip joints, for instance, will have, tell me a good slip joint. A lot of good slip joints will have an area like this right here, which is unsharpened, which means that even if this does close, it's going to hit your finger with an unsharpened area rather than a sharpened one. That's not something that's that's not a good approach. So yeah, let's see here. Have I seen the Civivi Rustic Gent? I have. I saw it at the Blade Show West. Looks pretty interesting. Civivi's been doing a lot of cool stuff lately. I'm not necessarily feeling, a couple of people asked me, is the Elementum the best knife ever? I don't know that for sure. And if anything, it's maybe a little forgettable. But I think it's a sign that Civivi's doing great work, that we're seeing these really nice looking pieces coming out regularly. So there we go. Let's see here. What is the most comically stupid knife I've ever seen or reviewed? I just can't say no to that face. It may not be the worst, but it's worse enough, and it will kill me in my sleep if I don't give it the nod. So I'm just going to have to go with my good buddy here, the Z Hunter. I'll have to leave it at that. Let's see here. Dan's Gear Addiction asks, have I seen the new Giant Mouse Rayot integral frame lock? So, to be fair, I've seen the new Giant Mouse frame lock, and it is an integral. I didn't know that it is a Rayot. If it is, that actually makes it a lot more interesting and appealing. Because I'm actually a big fan of their switch over to Rayot as a new manufacturer, because the Ace Sonoma was really good. That was a huge step up for them. So if that actually is a Rayot, I'm going to be much more interested in that in the future. But yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that. And if it is, that's definitely interesting. Okay, Potato TR asks, Potato Tree, I suppose, feedback. I want less gems and more meh and crap knives. Perspective on how a meh knife at a high price would have been great 2 years ago, or a head-to-head of similar knives. So, Potato, actually, you should watch my video on gem hunting. It goes directly into my reason for really focusing my channel a little bit more on trying to find the very best of the very best. That's sort of an important thing for me. Because honestly, I really want to focus on the gems, because I feel like, there are so many bad knives that are released any given week. Like, if I were to try and review every pocket knife, and remember, this is absolutely not my day job. This is a Saturday, and I'm spending a part of my Saturday live on YouTube with 261 people because I am freaking nuts. That's how I roll. But nevertheless, if I were trying to run down every knife out there and give a good Consumer Report style thing, that gets very tiring because honestly, I hate doing reviews of so-so knives because it's just like, it's okay, but it's no, that's not as interesting as finding something where it's just like, this is freaking good. This is really well done, and I'm happy about it. Those just restore my soul a little bit. The other thing is, honestly, I would rather use my channel as a way to point people towards really good gear, and I don't want to give advertising to so-so gear. I want the image, I kind of want to promote survival of the fittest, and one of the ways that I, can help, well, basically play with the market, so to speak, is by, giving the recognition to people who are really trying. So I understand your perspective, and I can see that there would be a role for somebody who's doing the, I review everything, and I used to do that when I had, well, frankly, more time. But nowadays, I would much rather focus on the gems. Thank you very much, Daniel, for the, looks like a pair doing weightlifting. That you're a gem. Andrew Toole says, any plans to review the Shabazz Ultramar Rayot knives? I handled some of them at the Shabazz booth. I believe that they all have the Shabazz clip, which is kind of a non-starter for me. But the quality is definitely there, and so, I think it's a question more so of style. There's nothing that really jumps out at me, but it's a thing. Let's see here. Let me drink a little tea real quick, such that my vocal cords do not come flying out onto the table and get these fine multi-tools all dirty. Let's see here. Whose machining is superior, we or CKF? Oh, that's fighting words right there, my friend. That's a good question. So we knives, let's see, do I have anything from we around here? Yeah, sure I do. Here's a wee knife, actually, here. Here's a wee knife. Ferrum Forge. Oh, actually, here's a wee one, too. Although these are not branded wee knives. This is the Ferrum Forge Archbishop and the Executive, which is different from the CEO, and I keep mixing up. But anyways, these are both knives that are made by wee knives for the Ferrum Forge guys in this case, and they do really, really nice work. CKF actually has a level of intricacy in some of their work that isn't, where CKF can exceed Wii is in the finishing level, but Wii is able to deliver better price points. I think that both of them are really doing nice work in terms of, especially the intricacy. Some of CKF stuff is really impressive. I mean, there's a reason they had two of their entries in the runners-up thing. The big issue with CKF is the limited edition game. If they were made more regularly, they'd be amazing, but as they stand, unfortunately, it's kind of ugly. So, there you go. I would probably go with Wii knives for most of your everyday life, but if you happen to see something from CKF that's amazing, well, give it a shot. It's pretty good. So let's see here. Thoughts on Bulova or Tissot automatics? I haven't handled any Bulova automatics, so I can't speak to them. Of course, do not get into watches. But generally speaking, I would probably go with, Tissot does really nice work too. So, yeah, let's see here. What do we got here? This is indeed the Micarta CEO, or at least this was right over here. If I could only carry one knife for the rest of my life, what would it be and why? I actually have a whole video on this, so go on ahead and check that out. How would I persuade non-knife folks to see knives through my eyes? There are two answers to that. One of them is for helping people who are knife phobic. There are people out there who just are afraid of pocket knives. They look at this and they don't go, wow, that's going to be really good for opening boxes. They look at this and go, wow, that's going to be really good for opening meat. And that's a silly approach at some level. I can understand fear. Fear is a very natural reaction to the world. But, part of it, and I think the very best thing that we can do as a knife community is two things, actually. The first one of them is to be normal and carry a pocket knife. The very best thing for making people accept pocket knives is to have reasonable people carrying pocket knives. Like, if they know that you're not a violent person, and they know that you're a person that they trust and they think is sane, and you happen to carry a pocket knife, you are going to be a big vote in favor of, like, next time somebody's making, we should ban pocket knives in our, blah, blah, blah. Next time some politician is trying to use fear to get people riled up, and they happen to settle on that issue rather than all the other ones they generally use, then that's going to be in your favor. Like, well, no, wait, hold on. Nick carries a pocket knife. He's not insane. Well, okay, I'm a bad example because I kind of am. But, Herbie carries a pocket knife. He's fine. That's one really good way to do it. So I think one of the very best things you can do is just be normal while carrying a pocket knife, because that makes things easier for people who are just getting to know the world. The other thing that I think we can do is actually gifts. One of the very best things you can do for somebody who borrows your knife all the damn time is just give them a knife. Give them something cheap. Get them an open L. Get them a relatively basic. You get them a freaking Rat 2. I've given away a bunch of freaking Rat 2s in my lifetime to people around me because you know what? They're just so damn good that it's a great choice for a lot of folks. And if somebody keeps borrowing my knife, that means they probably need a knife, and then at that point they carry one, and they'll get a skin in the game. But when it comes to the fear side of things, that's really hard to work with, and I got a whole video about that. Una says, "Hey, be normal. Define normal." So, okay, there is the subset of people that is standing right over here on the camera. That's not normal. So probably normal is going to be the other people out there in the world. I'm looking at, I'm looking out my window at some, cute freaking couple out there, sitting having breakfast or something on their freaking porch. That looks pretty normal. I mean, mind you, normal is just like a setting on the washing machine, right? And the only normal people are ones you don't know well enough yet. I'm looking over at them and thinking, well, they look pretty normal, and probably inside they've got like an elaborate shrine to Bruce Springsteen or something like that. I don't freaking know. Not that that's an abnormal thing to do, but maybe they just really like the boss. Nevertheless, everybody is a little weird, but I think it's important to act. For instance, if you don't walk in covered in blood on a regular basis to work, that's a sign of normalcy, and that would be a good reason that maybe you might want to carry a pocket knife just to make people, again, take it a little bit better. So, yeah, there you go. Who doesn't have a shrine to the boss? I'm actually gonna. Springsteen's got some good songs, but I'm not at the shrine level yet, so I appreciate that. So yeah. Let's see here. Thoughts on Spyderco's Phantom Lock on bigger models? I have not heard of the Phantom Lock. I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about there. So that's weird. Usually I've heard of locks, but this one's new. Do you mean the power lock? Like on the, on the Meerkat, that one. I have a review of the Meerkat. It's fine. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of Protect Magic. Reminds me of this little guy, Protect Knives Magic. I should carry this today. That'd be a good choice. Anyways, where you have a sort of a backlock connected to a handle thing. This happens to be an automatic, but there were other choices out there. Phantom Lock's fine. It's a little fiddly. It's probably not what I would recommend for your everyday option, but same time, it's a cool little locking mechanism. I'm always happy to see some diversity, generally, but in locking mechanisms especially. So there you go. Let's see here. What's have I heard anything from Spyderco on the Sleesh Swayback? I have not, but I'm sure hoping. That would be a joy. This would be a sequel to the Spyderco Techno, the Spyderco Spidey Chef, the Sleesh Buoy, and I guess Techno too. I'm hoping that'll be a thing, though, one of these damn days. Let's see here. What are we doing here? A bunch of people are asking me questions about Microtech, which is kind of funny. So look, Microtech is a company. They make knives. They've also, well, you can read on, for instance, Knife News. At a certain point, they actually sued another gear reviewer, and that was something that really turned me off to them. So they're not somebody I'm going to be interested in at any point in the future. My biggest issue, honestly, with them, I mean, aside from the whole, hurting a friend of mine thing, my biggest issue with them is the proprietary screws. I mean, even putting that aside, I don't like any company that's regularly using proprietary screws. So Southern Grind gets nailed on this, Microtech, etc. Not a big fan of that. So keep that in mind. But, again, use your own damn thing. And the other thing to remember is that there are really good automatic knives from a bunch of people now, so they're not the only game in town. Let's see here. Would I still have the AD-15 in my collection if it weren't claimed by the male gods? Probably, yeah. It's a really good choice. I think, it's not something that I would carry on a regular basis. On any day where I would go AD-15, I would probably end up going with like the Shaman instead, just because it's another big, beefy freaking knife. And I like this one just a little bit more, but you know what? It's good. It's an absolutely great piece, and I do definitely wish that it were, more freely available. So there we go. Let's see here. Nick should celebrate 100,000 by narrating 50 Shades. I actually did that already. If you check my the new project from, actually, I've got a whole playlist of April Fool's jokes that you might enjoy. But there I actually do narrate a part of 50 Shades of Grey. So there you go, just for you, my friend. Let's see here. Chi-Town, California asks, Nick, what's been my EDC watch so far today? It's been this little guy, the Long Island Watch Company ISL01. Most days, though, it's one of these two. Is the Omega Seamaster Professional or the Casio Oceanus S5000C. So there you go. Both of those choices are a beautiful thing. Any thoughts on the Boost Blades Mini Smoke? Missed the pre-order. I'm hoping you'll make more of them in the future. I missed pre-order as well, so I'll catch the next round when they come out. The other thing is, and this has been a frustration with Booze just generally, is that, not Booze as in like vodka, but Booze as in Booze Blades, is that generally speaking, his stuff tends to be made in one run and then stop. Here, I'll throw the regular size smoke up there. And so as a reviewer, I can do like a review of it, but it's like you can't freaking buy it, so why am I bothering? So, the mini smoke, I actually handled the prototype, and it's quite nice, but same time, if you can't buy one, what's freaking point? So I'm hoping he does more of that there. So let's see here. What are we doing here? Any big secret plans for 100,000? Already talked about that at the start of the show today. What other good questions do we have here? Or bad questions for that matter? Let's see. Should I wait for a sprint run of the Native Chief? I mean, you could, absolutely. The problem is if it's a sprint run, you're not going to be able to freaking get it. So, yeah, that's the big issue. Honestly, Native Chief's just great freaking knife, generally speaking. It's really, really nice if you like a big knife. Let's see here. Thoughts on CBN versus diamond sharpening media? That's a really good question. I have some of each around here. I can't actually reach my CBN, but I also have been using these diamond plates by Diashop. These little guys right here. I think I don't have a strong opinion on which one is going to be better than the other, whether it's CBN or Diamond, but at the same time, there are some really nice choices on both sides. Honestly, hand sharpening is an area that I'm still learning. I'm still getting better at, and still kind of getting my feet wet in, so and that's why you haven't seen much about it on the channel. So I'm putting some nice edges on things, but yeah, not beyond there. Let's see here. What happened to the Spyderco Nirvana? Let's see here. Spyderco Nirvana, right here. This is a reground Spyderco Nirvana that actually fixes its biggest issue. The overall cut on this, or I'm sorry, the overall size of this guy and thickness of the blade turned out to be a major, downside to this guy. I'm not a big fan of that, but aside from that, I mean, it is a substantially really nice knife. There's a lot to love about the Nirvana. I just never quite fell in love with the original version because the blade was too damn thick, and I never fell in love with the, well, and actually, I thought the Paisan was going to fix a lot of the issues, but it brought some of its own. So, I feel like this reground one is an amazing knife. It's definitely a gem, and it's one that I absolutely love, but it's also not necessarily a knife that I would carry on a regular basis, mostly because of the size. Let's see here. Any high-quality traditionals, thank you for the donation there. Under $150 with availability. Yeah, that's the rub, isn't it? See, you've got, your Great Eastern is kind of your choice there. There's a GEC 99 pattern. They're great. Can't buy them. It's a shame. I really hope that GEC gets their stuff together and increases their capacity soon, because otherwise there's going to be great China cutlery that's going to just blow them out of the water at some point when actual availability is there, and we're already starting to see that. We're seeing companies like Civivi creating more traditional style knives, and once that goes, they're going to have a really bad time. So I hope that right now the biggest thing on GEC's mind right now is trying to get more of these guys out the door at the same quality level, because oh my god, does that need to happen, because they're a company I'm cheering for. It's a company I'd love to see, but unfortunately it's just like, yeah, no, it's great eBay great eBay cutlery is about where we're at with them. That's definitely not that's not a fan. Or I'm not a fan of that. That is. Let's see here. What are we doing here? Do I still love the Quiet Carry Drift? Yeah, it's around here someplace. Come here, Drift. Yeah, I was carrying this the other day actually. So yeah, it's nice, very nice knife, very very nice knife. Let's see here. Benchmade Proper S90V. Yeah, the Benchmade Proper S90V is a nice choice, but it's also not traditional in any particular way. It's a slip joint, but slip joint doesn't make you traditional. There we go. Have I seen the Cricket Thero? It's like a Millet Torrent scaled down to a budget price point. Have I seen the Cricket Thero? That's a really good question. Have I seen the Cricket Thero? Why, yes, I have, as a matter of fact. I haven't actually carried it much. I haven't handled it much, but it is, in fact, very much like a millet torrent scaled down to a budget price point. That'll be a very interesting knife in the future, or a very interesting knife in the future. I've got actually a number of new upcoming crickets coming out on my table, that is, such that I can do some, looking at them and hopefully get some reviews out around where they come. This is another one, actually, the Cricket Overland, which is designed by T.J. Schwartz, who's the same guy who did the Theroux, as well as the Millet Torrent, as well as the Conigarius, actually. So he's a great designer, and I'm very interested to carry this guy. Kind of holding on to this guy for a rainy day, so to speak. Sometimes I'll do that. Knives that I think are going to be really good, I'll hold on to them and, carry those when I'm having a rough week, That way it brings me a little joy. Let's see here. How's my Spyderco shaman with new scales? Let's see here. It is good. I got a set of custom micarta scales on here. I like it actually a lot. I like the micarta a lot. It's just attractive generally. And I think, it adds a little bit of extra gription, a little bit of joy, but it's not, nothing too special. So, yeah, there we go. I highly recommend custom scales, but it's a thing. The Schwartz is with me indeed. DJ Schwartz is with me. Any other good questions here we got going on? A lot of these I've answered actually very recently, so I'll go ahead and pass over those. Let's see here. Have I considered doing more wallet reviews? Kind of, yes. I've been carrying lately this little guy right here. This is a K&H leather, what the heck's the model name of this? Used to be called the Newton, now it's the Collie, which I like very much. And it is just a very basic, let's see here, how much of this can I show? Yeah, it's a very basic wallet. Looks a lot like this, and I got it with the two-tone sort of approach there. But it's absolutely a joy to me. Big fan of it. So there we go. Let's see here. What is my favorite steel? What is my favorite steel? I have no freaking idea at this point. Van Axe is really good. I mean, I'm kind of impressed by Van Axe. Yeah, it's pretty impressive to me. What else is good? M390, obviously. M4, I'm kind of partial to. There are a lot of good steels out there at the same time. And the wallet was a K&H leather. So literally says right here, K and H Leatherworks, K and H. It's those folks. They just asked me that in the chat there. How thin is the drift behind the edge? Not quite as thin as I might like. It slices very well, but it's kind of got a very acute angle at the very end there. I'm going to resharpen this guy one of these days, so that's a thing. Let's see here. What else do we got here? What sharpening system do I use? It varies. If I'm using a guided system, it's going to be the KME. If I'm using a non-guided stone, I've been having really good luck with the DMT Diasharp stones, although I recently bought a set of the Spyderco ceramic stones, which have been getting a little bit of love from me as well. It is really, I gotta say, there's a certain joy in sharpening on actual stones. It's not something I ever really did much, but it does definitely bring me a lot of joy, and frankly, I've gotten very nice results out of it. So I'm definitely gonna do some videos about that, but I want to get better at it before I go ahead and start doing any advocacy, Let's see here. Thoughts on the Origin Blade Works or Origin Blade Maker Genesis? Yeah, come here, Genesis. Where are you at? You're around here someplace. Either way, a good knife. It's a very impressive, very first knife for a company. If that's where they're starting, oh boy, I can't wait to see where they keep going. But, yeah, that's a thing. Let's see here. Will I be doing more stuff for smaller channels in 2020? I took part in the last one. Yeah, I might well. I'm always, I'm always game to check out new, smaller channels and, sort of talk about folks who I really think are doing good work. One of them, actually, I'll shout out right now, is a lady, I believe her name is Christine. Women Carry Knives is it's a relatively small channel. I want to say they've only got she's only got like 500 subscribers. Let me make sure that that's actually the name of the channel before I start sending people there. Hold on just a second here. Women Carry Knives. I believe that's it. No, that's not a, come on, people. Yeah, here it is. Women Carry Knives. Great. And she's got a YouTube channel. She's got Instagram. She's got a bunch of cool stuff going on there. But I've been a real big fan. I met this gal at the Blade Show West, and I really think that that's a very underrepresented voice in the EDC market. I've said this before, and in fact, I have a whole knife gripe about this. But one of the things that bothers me a great deal about the knife world, generally speaking, is that there is sort of this weird distinction of like, oh, what's a woman's knife? Like, and people will ask me this, like, Nick, what's the best knife for a woman? It's like, dude, what's the best knife for you? Okay, that's the best knife for her. I mean, there are definitely constraints that women face, in terms of like pocket size being a major one, because unfortunately, apparently, somebody decided back when that women don't need pockets worth a damn. But the very best knife for, and so I'm pulling out the Spyderco Dragonfly here because it is a very nice choice for small pockets. But so often people are like, oh, we're making a version of this knife for women. It's pink. It's like, you idiot. I mean, sure, there are going to be women out there who like pink knives, but making a bad knife pink doesn't make it a good knife for women. No, good knives are good knives for men and for freaking women. And so, yeah, that's definitely a maker. I'm sorry, not a maker. But Christine, Women Carry Knives, is definitely somebody who's, I think that she's got really good thinking about this. And frankly, the more voices we have from a variety of perspectives in the knife community, the better. Because this isn't one of those other things that I think really helps to make the knife community better, makes us stronger, and makes us more resilient to people who are getting scared, right? If people are constantly thinking, oh, well, there are no women in the knife community, and let's be real here. Unfortunately, our hobby in the knife world, it certainly is very gendered. I mean, my channel has like 97% of my viewers are male. That's a thing. I'd like to see that closer to 50-50 because, again, this is a large population of people who, let's face it, have just the same amount of need for a pocket knife as I do. I mean, women deal with boxes and envelopes the same damn amount that I do on a regular basis, and so having a really good tool in a lady's pocket is that's just as helpful to us as a community. And so the more that we can, embrace a variety of perspectives in the knife world, the better, because different people have different needs, and if we can get that, I mean, and women have purses, yes, indeed, you got a really good point there, and that's where my wife carries hers generally. But nevertheless, I mean, the more that we can get more people from a variety of backgrounds, carrying an interest in the cutlery world, this will be a net win for our world, for our community. People will look at us and say, "Hey, that's reasonable. I know my buddy Una carries a knife," or something like that. So it must be fine. And so at some level, I don't think that. I think it's very important to have buy-in from people all throughout the various, different spectra of human existence, right? Not just freaking white guys, not just not just women, not just white women for that matter. I mean, it's a good idea for us to have a variety of perspectives because that'll make our community stronger and it'll make it more robust next time some idiot decides they want to start doing some lawmaking about it. So, there we go. Okay, hold on just a second. Got to ban somebody real quick. Adios. That's right. But yeah, so there were a lot of big things that are, I think, important here, but trying to advocate for people from a variety of backgrounds to carry pocket knives is an absolutely wonderful thing, and it's another way that we can make our community just a little bit more reasonable out there. And if one knife maker can be stopped from saying, okay, we're going to take this bad knife and we're going to make it pink, and then it'll be a great knife for women, and then it doesn't sell, they're like, oh, wow, women must hate knives. No, like, women hate crappy knives. It's just like men do. You idiot. It's not just about pink. But anyways, I completely and totally digress. But I'm really heartened, actually, to see a number of women, and this has gone into an impromptu rant, but a number of women in the community is starting to come to prominence. I mean, Christine of Women Carry Knives is doing that. But, we're also getting folks like Melissa Backwoods, I'm sorry. I think it's Backwoods. Either way, a great gal. She and I actually talked some at the at Blade West, and very knowledgeable about knives, absolutely 100%. Who else do we have these days who's doing that? Blade Mama on Instagram is another very, very knife knowledgeable. And I mean, there are women in the industry too. I mean, Joyce Lighturi over at Spyderco, one of the most knife knowledgeable people you ever meet. Happens to be a gal. Tops Knives, I believe, has a prominent gal involved, Mary Ann Halpern, TRM. I mean, it's not... So I just want to see more of that representation in the world. That's just a thing. That is just a thing. And it's something that I would like to see, put better. Even Swags, by the way, of formerly a Smoky Mountain Knife Work, she's starting her own channel and kind of trying to get it. So yeah, anyways, I digress. So I'm definitely a big fan of trying to make our community a little bit more diverse, and I think inviting women into the fold is an absolutely wonderful thing. So there we go. What are we looking at here? There are pink Z hunters, says Vex Davion. This is true. This is sadly true. That's a thing. That's definitely a thing. Unfortunately, no women are safe from the Z Hunter threat. No people are safe. No humans are safe. Anyways, the She Hunter. Oh, good Lord. We've just gone back 50 years in social justice, but you know what? It's okay. Oh, in Z Hunters. All right, back at the ranch. So, what do we got here? Thank you for the nice perspectives on the rants there. What are we doing here? Oh, yeah. And this is the other thing that actually somebody just brought up, is that this is an area where the industry can make a big difference. Not necessarily in the women's side, but just in gaining larger perspectives. And I've made this rant before, but the more that the industry doubles down on the tactical marketing, more that they double down on weapons of war, self-defense, stabbing people, stabbing pig carcasses hanging in warehouses. I don't know who I'm talking about there. Absolutely. But nevertheless, the more that the industry goes that route, the more difficulty we're going to have in trying to get people convinced that what we're doing here is a reasonable and healthy thing for everyday tools and everyday life. Tactical tomahawks are not exactly the way to win the joy of of legislators out there. So knife makers, please calm it down just a little tiny bit. So, anyways, there you go. That's a beautiful thing. Alrighty. So, back at the ranch, have you had a chance to look at the TRM Nerd? So, I have not. Although I am, in fact, a nerd, I haven't... well, actually, it's not true. I handled a prototype at the USN Gathering, I believe. And this is TRM of the atom here, and I'll throw the neutron on the table here as well, just because... I am not very neutron about that particular knife. The Nerd's a very interesting piece. Like I said, though, I handled a prototype, so there you go. Let's see here. Pardon me, have I had a chance to look at any Mora knives? As a matter of fact, yeah, I have. This guy actually lived in my car for a while. You can see it's got a little bit of rust on there because it is a carbon steel knife. But I absolutely do have some Moras around my life. They're very, very nice knives for good old-fashioned functional use. Just could use a little sharpening. But nevertheless, Mora does some very nice work. And in terms of, value for the money, they're really, really up there. They're pretty damn excellent. So yeah, there you go. What else are we doing here? Actually, folks, it is getting to be, holy crap, 75 minutes. So I think I'm going to go on ahead and wrap this on up. I very much appreciate everybody who came in, who said hello. Certainly, I appreciate all the donations, but that's, just icing on the cake, so to speak. Really, it's a joy to come in and talk with you all. And even when I'm ranting about random things, about the community, about, a hobby in general, there's a little bit of joy in just, hanging out with you guys, reading all of these various things. And so to all of you, I wish you all a very, very happy new year. Of course, you'll be hearing from me a little bit more still before then. I'm still in the midst of a holiday Shabazz. But nevertheless, I hope this has been interesting to you most of all. And have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day, everybody. Bye now.